mean, in terms of that wicket, we did
in the rough there, didn't you?
Yeah, obviously. There's a small bit of rough that was there. He was just trying to get it out there into that. Trying to bring the field up, see if he would have a little dart to try and get to his 100 quicker. But
and the Barmy Army have been brilliant throughout this Test match. You see, when you take the catch, you see them in the background there. How much have they been a help for you in this Test match?
They've been unbelievable. Throughout the whole trip, they've been unbelievable. But this week in particular, there's no doubt that they are the best fans in the world. They come and travel. They've seen some tough games over the course of this tour, and they're still there supporting us all the way, and it means so much to the crowd.
Is Johnny not playing in Sydney? He's just giving his pads away.
I think he's got a few spare.
I imagine he has.
He's got a few spare, unless he's retired and not told me. I think there'll be a few spare, but they've been unbelievable, really have, and the players appreciate it so much.
And talk us through Alistair Cook obviously getting 200, and everyone roots for Cookie. How is he physically? Because he's not getting any younger. His back was made of glass when I used to play. So is he going to be all right for Sydney?
Yeah, he'll be absolutely fine.
But it's great to see him back in form.
Absolutely, yeah. He's looked as good as I've seen him for a long time out there. The rhythm of his batting. He obviously renowned for his concentration and being able to bat long periods of time, but the way he struck the ball, especially down the ground, that's as good as he plays, so it's a really good sign for us moving forward.
And I'll have to ask you, that the conversion rate from 50 to 100, how much does that play in your mind that you're not quite going on and getting the three figures?
Well, it's frustrating. It's there to see it's happening quite a lot, but it's something you don't want to worry about. I think most importantly, I'm playing pretty well. It's just trying to continue that mentality of once you're in and you are playing well, either not getting too far ahead of yourselves or not trying to rein it in and play any differently, and just sort of balance that out and keep believing that I'm good enough to play to go on and make really big scores, which I know I am.
Things are improving, Joe. It's not a defeat here, so do you go to Sydney with tails up-ish?
Yeah, no, I thought we've outplayed them this game. I know it's a draw, but that's something for us to move forward with, and hopefully we can build on that and make sure we come away from Sydney with a win.
In terms of the team, would you look at changes? How much can you tell us of that?
We'll have to have a look at the wicket when we get there, have a gauge for things, see how guys pull up after this game, but we'll make that decision when we get there.
One last thing from me. I suppose the thought from home might be England are better when their backs are to the wall, and maybe that's something they need to look at. They've played really well here, but obviously we'd have all liked to have seen it sooner. Does it take sometimes a crisis to bring out the best in an England player?
I'd like to think not. It's been a tough tour. We've been outplayed in 3 games. I think, finally we've proven more than anything to ourselves that we are a good enough side to compete over here, and it's such a shame that it's taken till now. But we always knew that there wasn't that much between the sides, and that we were out in this series, and that's a really frustrating thing for me, really.
Well, listen, best of luck in Sydney. You've entertained us here. Didn't quite get the result you wanted, I know, but we'll be behind you in Sydney. Thank you very much for your time so close to the end of play. Cheers, Joe. Appreciate it.
Have a good birthday party.
Yeah, enjoy the birthday. What's left of it? What's left of it? As always, speaks well. Michael, honest, doesn't pull punches, doesn't pretend it's better than it is.
Yeah, I think the wicket, if you look at it over the course of the 5 days, it wasn't great for Test match cricket. It's slow, turgid. You'd expect it to crack on days 4 and 5. It really didn't. To get a victory, I guess, on day 5, you need help from a spinner. And England just haven't got that tool at the minute. Moeen Ali's got no confidence, not getting anything on the ball, and on a wicket like that you really do need a high-class spinner to try and force the likes of David Warner, Stephen Smith to just make the error. Moeen Ali just wasn't quite good enough today.
I noticed the little look to the left when you said that.
Well, absolutely, yeah. He was a high-class spinner.
Well, I felt for Mo today, I really do, and not because the field's set and he's not bowling with any vigour and there's no energy on the ball, but mentally where he is at the moment, he completely shot. You saw when he batted, he came in and really tried to tee off, which was very unusual, but it was obviously a plan. He's trying to reinvigorate himself on this tour and get going. And with the ball today, there was so little energy in his action and through the crease. And you could tell that Joe, even though Joe's one of the nicest blokes I know, but he just hasn't got confidence in his spin bowl at the minute. So David Warner's in, and as he said, he played on his ego when Joe bowled. Joe felt confident in himself that he wouldn't bowl long hops and get smacked. But when his premier spinner came on, he felt the need to have a deep mid-wicket, a long on, and a deep cover.
Yeah.
That, to me, says we don't just think you're going to go in one area. we think you could possibly be cut, driven or pulled. So that's a captain who just doesn't think his spinner's got any confidence. So
that you're defending runs, but actually what you need to do is create wickets. It wasn't really about runs, this was it? It was about taking wickets, and he just doesn't look like doing that.
No, he doesn't. He's just getting nothing on the ball. And you look back to the way that he batted, you know, I think it was Paul Collingwood, actually, the assistant coach. He said, you know, those 14 balls that Moeen faced, it looked to him that he had a muddled mind, and he's clearly low in confidence. It might be that England take him out of the team to give him a breather. You know, it might be the best thing for Moeen Ali that he doesn't play in Sydney. You know, he's had a real tough week once again.
Yeah, OK, thanks for the moment, fellas. We'll be back with more from Melbourne in just a couple of minutes. Steve Smith, obviously, we'll hear from the Australian point of view. Alistair Cook too. Tom Gurran, he's unbeaten. I've enlarged the panel with Jeffrey and Michael. More big hitters to discuss. Well, perhaps the big hitter, Mike Hussey, Steve Smith, who's effectively been the difference in this series. Is that right?
Oh, I think we've seen the man of the series with one test to play. He's been absolutely incredible. He had to change his game a bit today. It was all about just surviving, getting through the day, doing the job. And didn't he do it in such a disciplined fashion, professional manner? Made sure he went to Sydney and with Australia in a position 3-0. People keep asking me, how do we get Steve Smith out? I don't know. I can't answer that. I think his concentration's been so good. He's got an unusual technique, but he just seems to keep getting the job done.
Jeffrey, Liverpool have just paid $75 million for a centre-half. Perhaps Steve Smith's the one they should have looked at. You can't get past him.
You need it, don't they, Jeffrey?
You need him in your defence.
Correct. That's what I'm getting at. Giving you the line. He's a hell of a cricketer.
He's a very good player. He's in the form of his life, and it's going to be very difficult to get him out when people get like that. And when you get flat pitches, we saw him in difficulty in the day-night test when Jimmy Anderson had a new ball. His feet were all over the place, different player. And that has happened before in England. But he's got a couple of hundreds on flat pitches in England. But Stuart Broad, when Stuart Broad got 8 for 15 at Nottingham, didn't look so clever then. But the thing is, we're in Australia, we're on good pitches, we're not going to get any pitches like that. So I think there's a good chance of getting more runs in Sydney, so England have to find a way to get him out for 40, 50 each innings. That's how you've got to think. You get him out cheap, well, that's a big bonus. Yeah. But when somebody's in this sort of form and making hundreds, he's made 3, and he had them in some matches he hadn't had 2 innings, he's only had 1. So you've got to think, right, 40 or 50, we're in the game.
I wonder what the Australian captain made of the pitch here in Melbourne and whether he's satisfied enough with the draw in the end. He's been talking to Ali Mitchell.
Well, Test century number 23, Stephen, and a match-saving cause this time. How much satisfaction has this 100 given you?
Look, it was nice to be there at the end and get the boys to a draw. You know, turning up today, there was only really 2 results that could happen: England win or a draw. We couldn't get enough runs and get in front of the game on this wicket. So, you know, it was about digging deep, and you know, I'm pleased I was able to be there at the end and get myself 100 not out. But also pleased for Mitch Marsh. I thought he played really well. Sort of a different role to what he's ever played. He's usually quite positive in his intent, and the way he faced 160 odd balls for his 30 was, you know, a really good effort.
Were you a bit worried at lunch when the 2 wickets had fallen in that morning session?
I wouldn't say worried. I still thought it was, you know, it was such a flat, dead wicket, and it was hard to get guys out. So if you got in and faced a few balls and got used to, I guess, the pace of the wicket and what the ball was doing, then, you know, it was really hard to get out. So, you know, I wasn't too worried.
There are some pitches where batsmen say, you know, I'd like to roll this one up and take it with me around the world. What would you like to do with this MCG pitch?
I don't know if I would like to do that with this wicket. You know, I don't think it was a great cricket wicket. You know, as I said, it was flat and hard to get out, but it was also hard to score runs. So, you know, it's just a bit of a pity, really. But yeah, look, hopefully they can find something to do with this wicket. Obviously, Boxing Day is a huge occasion, and I don't know if many people want to come and just see one of those flat tracks every year. So maybe if they put some grass on it or try and get it to spin somehow, at least give something for the bowlers. There was obviously a reverse swing throughout the whole game, but the ball just gets really soft, and it's just difficult to get guys out.
England clearly have avoided a defeat. There's no prospect of a 5-0, but what have you sensed different about England in this match that they weren't able to do in the first 3?
I don't know. I think they probably exploited the reverse swing quite well at times throughout the game. Both Jimmy and Broady in particular are very good reverse swing bowlers, and
I think we got ourselves in a really good position on the first day, and the second morning we lost our way a little bit. Credit to England, they bowled really well, but we lost 7 for 80 on that wicket, which we probably shouldn't be doing. And then I thought they batted pretty well. Cookie was magnificent, scoring another double 100. He played beautifully. He played nice and straight. He cut anything with any width and hit off his pads really well. And I think that's how he bats his best. And I thought he just summed up the conditions really well, and it was just hard to get back into the game from there.
What about your own batting? We've seen contrasting innings with the double 100 at Perth, but then slow hundreds at the Gabba, and another one here, okay, different circumstances. But do you find run scoring harder when it's slow going, or is it just different?
I don't know, it's just this wicket, I guess. It was just so slow and just hard to score runs, so you had to try and bat long periods of time, and particularly when you're playing for a draw. So I was just hanging in there, playing nice and straight, playing a bit of French cricket at times, and getting my pads out of the way, and just trying to play as straight as I could. And that's all you can really do on this wicket. If you get any width or anything short or anything too full, you can put it away, but you just got to be nice and patient.
And how do you maintain your concentration over that period again when it's slow going like that?
I don't know, I guess just love batting and like being out in the middle and getting the job done. I'm not actually a great watcher of cricket. I don't really like watching cricket that much, so I much prefer be out there batting. So, that gives me extra motivation to stay out there for as long as I can.
Well, best of luck going to Sydney, Steve. It's been great watching you back again today. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, interesting, fellas, to hear him be unhappy personally with the pitch. Given, Hoss, that he scored 100 in the 4 last Test matches he's played it, you'd think he'd be happy.
Yeah, but I think, he's a lover of cricket as well. He wants to see a good contest between bat and ball. He loves a challenge. So maybe he hasn't found too much of a challenge out there in the last 4 years. As you said, 104 last 4 times he's played here. It's just interesting now how he just loves being out in the middle. Doesn't like watching cricket, just loves batting and getting the job done. And that's what he had to do today.
We believe that a spokesperson for Cricket Australia has said they're disappointed that the pitch didn't produce a result, but that they will work with the MCC for future matches. Now, obviously, the problem is they've got a multi-sports venue here.
Yeah, well, and as they should, because, this is the standout Test match. It's the MCG Boxing Day, 90,000. It happens every single year. This is like Test match cricket showcase of the year, if you like. It needs to be a good wicket. It's been a shocking wicket for Test match cricket. Too slow, too turgid. We talk about changes of Test match cricket. How's it going to get better? How's it going to improve? Well, it's certainly not going to improve if you play on wickets like that. So, yeah, they've got to do something with it.
What can they do? I mean, well, Steve Smith, obviously, I think it's very honest of him to say that the pitch isn't good enough, but he obviously enjoys batting on it.
We've all seen it. The wicket we played on 2010, it started off slightly damp, didn't it? We bowled Australia out for 98 on a wicket that actually went through quite nicely. By the end of the game, it wasn't a great deal away from this.
Right.
We got a lot of reverse swing at the time. But yeah, if it is your marquee sporting event, and let's face it, this is one of the crown jewels for Australia, they need to do something. And whether it's just to get different groundsmen to dig it up, I mean, look at this, that's just all too easy. The pitch is doing nothing, the ball doesn't bounce, and when you've got to end up having, Root and Malan as your main bowler by the end of the 5th day, they've got to rip it up. So get different people to produce different wickets and experiment with dropping different pitches.
In fact, the director from Perth, Matt Page, is actually starting work here, isn't he, Mike? And maybe that'll make a difference. Obviously, he had his own headaches on that last day in Perth. But are there solutions to use an Australian?
Well, he hasn't actually had a lot of experience with drop-in pitches because there's not a drop-in at the whacker. I think in the past what they've tried is, as Graham was saying, they've started with a lot of moisture in the pitch to start with, and then it just flattens out. And so the first 2 innings of the match are over quite quickly. But then it's really hard to bowl teams out later on in there. But most hundreds here for Australia. Steve Smith, averaging 63.
Well, no wonder he's getting all those hundreds if he's batting on that once every year. I mean, every player in the world. I mean, yeah.
In fairness, he does it most places.
Of course he does. He's absolutely brilliant. He's a standout player in the world at the minute. But like Mike said there, perhaps that just wasn't as much of a challenge as he'd like in this game.
No, I mean, obviously, Steve Smith will enjoy, as any batsman would, Jeffrey, placid conditions. You're going to, not that it was easy necessarily to score on, but you can bat time.
Look, it's quite easy to bat for good players, but the disappointment for me is Alistair Cook. He's played a magnificent innings and England haven't won. You like to play magnificent innings when you win and win a match.
Yeah.
And if you don't win, you want to save it. And no, look, quite honestly, they've got to dig it up. And I'm glad the groundsman's going, because if he wasn't going, I'd be saying, well, here's your cards. I need something better than that.
Here's your cards. Look, obviously, In terms of his batting, you know, the pitch is obviously a debate that goes on, but he's in well, as we said with Alistair Cook, he's in extremely exalted company. And
this isn't the first time we've had a turgid pitch here. You ask ex-players, they say it's like this. If it was just a one-off, okay, he's unlucky, like we make a mistake batting, he makes a mistake bowling, he makes a mistake batting, fine, we're all human. But you keep making stuff like this, that's not good for cricket.
Well, I spoke to Mervyn Hughes earlier, and he was saying back in the day, when they used to play, the wicket by the 5th day was a nightmare. It was either at your nose or at your toes, the ball going through the top along the floor. So first innings incredibly flat, and you'd score your runs, and a 25 or 30 by the end of the game, and this is before dropping pitches.
So it used to deteriorate more than these.
It used to deteriorate a lot more, and so they've got to find some way of getting a pitch that just falls to pieces.
Can it be greened up?
Well, why don't you get different soil? Why don't you get some soil then from Western Australia, where it bounces, you know, and there's something in it for the bowlers. You don't have to have your own soil. You know, you can get some over here.
Yeah, but the Adelaide Oval's a dropping pitch. I know it's a pink ball, but if you look at the Adelaide Oval over the last few years that have been droppings, they've left a bit of green grass on it. That's had nothing on it. It was bare, it was dry from day one. Leave some green grass on it. Let it zip through to the keeper.
You can have it bare to start if it's going to turn. Then you give the spinners something, but it doesn't do anything.
No.
So that's no good. Well, we're just telling you what ex-players say, not just me. Other players have seen these for a while like this. They're bad for cricket. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll hear from Alistair Cook next. Obviously, double centurion here. Like Steve Smith, breaking records. We'll get Cookie's thoughts on the draw and his personal achievements here. Hear from more of the England camp and, of course, continue the discussion.